Hi everyone, Seth Screamer here again with the Best of Wooster podcast. And today we have a local author. In front of me I have this book that is titled Your Financial Freedom, Find Freedom and Thrive by Cody Austin. So Cody will be talking to us about the book, why he decided to write it, and we're going to know a little bit more about Cody. Now, Cody is a repeat guest here on the Best of Wooster podcast because he's just an interesting fellow. So let me introduce Cody and we'll get to it. Cody, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Seth. Maybe you should call me a repeat offender.
Maybe. We'll find out with this book, I guess.
That's right.
So, cool. All right, so let's go into question one. Now, you said the best thing about your life right now is your family, your wife, and your kids. How do they influence the way you approach business and leadership?
Yeah, throughout my entire career, living in Wooster in this community and then writing this book, they've always just been so supportive and so great. And, a lot of what I do, whether it be the school board, which is why we spoke before, or some projects like this where we try to put something out there that helps people and makes their life a little bit easier, it's kind of just trying to make a better world for them. It's trying to create a better opportunity for the future, for my kids and for everyone else's kids, and, hope the world's a better place when you move on.
Yeah, I think definitely if you can do better, then things will be better. Now, was there a defining moment that made you realize you wanted to help people with their finances? Like, you good at Monopoly or something?
You know what? I've always loved Monopoly. My wife won't even play with me. It's no
Same.
Yeah.
Maybe we should play each other.
We should. I don't know that there was a defining moment necessarily. I started out as a financial advisor. I'm still a financial advisor. But in doing so, obviously a lot of times you're working with people who are well off. They're looking to invest their money, save for retirement. And then throughout that process, you have a few friends and family come to you from the opposite end of the spectrum. They're going through a financial struggle. They've got some questions about some issues they're having. And it kind of brought me to this realization of like, hey, there's a large group of people here who need help, who aren't in the position to invest, but they still need that support of a professional to help them through that process. So I think it's seeing a handful of people in my life that are going through financial struggles or went through financial struggles, and it led to wanting to create an opportunity for them to get the resources they need as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. So for listeners who might not know you yet, tell us what Austin Wealth Solution is all about and what makes it different from a traditional financial firm.
Yeah, so obviously, like I mentioned, 7 years ago, I started up the firm primarily as financial advising, retirement planning, handling IRAs, business retirement plans, and those kind of things. And we continue to do that today. Throughout the process, I kind of had those realizations. There's another segment of people that need some help here. That started out as just doing some personal financial coaching. We'd bring clients on who were having financial trouble and wanted to talk through those things, get some help with paying off debt, building up their savings, preparing to buy a house, all those type of things. And that's continued to sort of grow in that way. We've tried to get more instrumental on social media, trying to reach more people with that helpful content for people who are struggling a bit, and culminated in the book, just another way to deliver help to those people. So, I would say we started as a financial advising firm, but we're a little different these days in that we're trying to be a resource to people who need help with other things than just investing.
For sure. So getting the more well-rounded approach. You mentioned your passion for helping people in financial turmoil led to creating your financial freedom. Can you walk us through the heart of that program and what problem does it solve and for whom?
Yeah, so the name Your Financial Freedom kind of became the name of our coaching program. That coaching program that helps people when they're in financial turmoil, like you mentioned. And the freedom part is really important to me because when you look at the data for people who are living in financial struggles, it's really rough. Second leading cause of divorce, one of the leading causes of suicide. This is something where it's impacting their everyday lives, it's impacting their mental health, it's breaking up families. And I don't think we give nearly enough credit to the damage that personal financial struggles do in society. So, I think that would be where I'd say the heart of the program lives is, hey, this is a way that we can actually probably make a difference in the world if we can do this on a big enough scale. If we can help enough people who are at that breaking point in their personal finances, we can make a real difference.
Yeah. What inspired you to take the extra step and write your book, Your Financial Freedom?
Yeah, so the coaching program's been successful locally. We've got obviously a good number of people that we coach. The reality is that oftentimes if someone has financial struggles, they have trouble paying for financial help, right? And so it's tough for them to pay us to be that coach. So like I mentioned, the social media work we do was our attempt at trying to get some of this information out there at no cost. And a book isn't necessarily no cost, but we're going to price this thing in a way to where people can really get their hands on this. So, maybe they don't have the resources to come join us as a coaching client, but we still want to give them the tools to improve their finances. For some people too, Seth, they just don't like talking about this stuff in person. It's an uncomfortable topic. It's one that's causing them a lot of stress, makes them really, really struggle to talk about it. And so if a book is a deliverable that allows them to go on this journey even on their own with a guide to help them make those improvements without somebody face to face, then, more power to them. Happy to help in that way if we can.
Yeah, I think that some people, you kind of have to lead them there. If this is a light that can get them to go from being in debt to getting out of debt, then yeah, that's a great thing.
Yep.
So now every business has its growing pains. What were some of the biggest challenges early on when you were developing your system?
So, with our core in financial advising, it's pretty easy to know how you make money doing that. But when we got into the financial coaching, like I mentioned, it's tough to monetize. You're working with a demographic that's at a struggle point in their life. So trying to find a way to obviously help people but still keep the lights on with a program like this can be a little tough. So we've tried to be creative. I think books are one way we can do that. The other thing we've done is we work with a handful of companies locally where we offer our financial coaching program to their employees as an employee benefit. So just like your employer might offer a retirement plan, health insurance, all of those types of things, they're offering our coaching services to their employees free of charge. And the idea with those employers is, hey, if we can have our employees come here happy, healthy, avoiding those divorces and mental health issues we talked about from financial struggles, then this is going to be a better place to work for everybody. People are here in a better mood and those things. So, that's been a really successful way to monetize this. And I guess back to your original question, that's the hard part is, we're still a business. And so how do you make this work as a business?
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, you've compared financial coaching to fitness or diet plans. Why do you think mindset is just as important as math when it comes to money?
Yeah, you and I had a little private discussion about this before we started recording today and how much overlap there is here. I think this is publicly said some places, but I know I believe it and I say it to everyone. 80% of success in your personal finances is behavior. 20% of it is knowledge. What's in this book is the 20%, with encouragers to help you work through the 80%. But at the end of the day, just like a diet or workout plan, you got to get up and do it, right? Even a lot of times for, let's say, a workout or going for a walk, the hardest thing is when that alarm rings at 6 a.m. and get out of bed. Once you're walking, you're glad you did it. You actually enjoy it to some degree. Maybe you're listening to a good podcast or something like that. But that behavior aspect, that beating the mental block of getting started, getting out of bed and doing it, it crosses over into personal finances. When people are struggling, they've got credit card debt that's piling up, they've got car loans are upside down in. The last thing that they can think about as they're feeling so much pressure to even pay their electric bill is starting to pay off credit cards. So, trying to get past that hump and say, I'm going to turn the corner today, even if I don't have much means, I've got to find a way to get some of this debt under control. It's 80% behavior. You got to want to win this.
Oh yeah, I think, if you can control your habits, you can do anything. Mm-hmm. Now, you're passionate about financial literacy for young people. What changes do you hope to see in schools that teach financial education over the next few years?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. The last few years, I've gotten the chance to go in and speak in our financial literacy classes here in Wooster at the high school level. It's great that our kids have that. I think there needs to be more of it. That's one thing. But when I look at just the general lack of education there's been historically on personal finances, it's scary. In 2019, 6 states had a financial literacy requirement for graduation. Now, as of 2025, that number's up to 29 of them. So in just 6 years, we went from 6 states to 29 states. So we're making really, really good progress, but it needs to be everywhere. These kids are facing really difficult decisions when they get out of high school. Am I going to college? What college am I going to? How much is it going to cost? I need to buy my first car, but I don't have a credit score. How scared should I be of this 14% interest rate? Those are things that kids are just signing on the dotted line and they don't even know what they're signing up for. So, I think publicly we're making really good progress with the realization that financial literacy needs to be taking place in schools, but it's so new. We talk about how many new states there are in the last 6 years. Obviously, the content still needs honed in. The content still needs to be perfected, and okay, the goal here is to prepare these kids to make really difficult financial decisions, basically day one when they leave school. How do we deliver this in the most effective way possible that allows them to leave school feeling ready to make those choices?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I know that when I went through high school, I had a pretty good math teacher that's what a lot of our questions dealt with everyday life stuff. So that helped me. But if I had something like this, like a book, man, who knows what?
That's the dream.
Yeah.
That's the hope. Yeah.
So, but curious, how has your team at Austin Wealth Solutions stayed connected to the Wooster community, especially through social media?
Yeah, obviously I live here in Wooster. I've got an office down in Shreve and then one in Berlin as well. So, we aren't always necessarily physically working in Wooster. Sometimes we're elsewhere. But being on the school board here, being in this community for close to a decade now, Worcester is really important to me. It's always welcomed my family with open arms since we've lived here. And, it's a place where we never want to leave. We just love Worcester. And so, I really try to cater a lot of my education and videos that we do on social media to stuff that I think people locally are facing. Depending where you live geographically, you face different challenges, right? Some real estate markets are tougher than others. Some car markets are tougher than others. Some people deal with different taxation levels. But I really try and gear our content towards local in the hope that, hey, even if someone from afar purchases the book and tries to go through this, they can obviously still gain a ton of value. But we really gear all of that social media content towards the local issues that I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So you've mentioned adapting your system to a changing world. What are some recent shifts or innovations you're most proud of?
Yeah, I'll maybe steer away a little bit from what I'm most proud of, and I'll focus in on what I think that biggest threat is in that changing world. I think that debt, and specifically bad debt, is far too easy for us to get our hands on. Everybody gets credit card offers in the mail. You go on Amazon and it's one-click buy. You don't even have to think about it anymore. It's literally just one click and you make the purchase.
Yeah, I just asked my wife.
That's exactly right. And on all those sites, Amazon and others, they'll have these buy now, pay later programs, which are, paying 4 easy payments, paying 6 easy payments.
I saw that at a coffee shop this week.
Wow.
It's like, man, how good's that coffee?
That is and here's what everybody has to remember. Everyone, I get it a lot. And I'm not saying you should never use a credit card. I think there can be good rewards. I think that it builds your credit. We utilize credit cards in our system. But for the people that say, hey, the buy now, pay later, I'm going to pay it off guaranteed, I might as well do it. Or, hey, I'm going to buy everything on my credit card because I get all these points and it gets me a flight each year. If that's true for you and you live that out, then good for you, you're beating the game. But the fact that the average credit card debt for Americans sits at $7,000 means that most people...
Can you say that again, please?
$7,000. The average American has $7,000 in credit card debt. And so that means that for most people saying this, that's not the reality that they're living. They're not getting these buy now, pay later loans paid off. They're not paying off their credit card each month. What they're doing is paying 25% interest on, like you said, Seth, a coffee. It's crazy.
Right, so let's talk about that. 25% interest, $7,000. Roughly would that be?
So that'd be roughly $1,800 a year.
There you go, folks. He knows his math.
Well, you might want to double check. That's on the spot. But you start thinking about that, and a lot of times these buy now, pay later programs and credit card programs, they set your minimum payment at just barely above the minimum interest amount. So not only are you paying that much in interest, you're making so little progress on paying that debt off that a small amount of debt like $7,000 in credit card debt, if you pay the minimums, that thing could last close to a decade. And so those are the threats that I see for people. Bad debt is far too easy to get. It's at our fingertips every day.
Oh, yeah. And that's just one credit card, right?
That's exactly right.
So do you know, on average, how many people have multiple credit cards?
I would say, I don't know the data. Most everybody has multiple cards, though. And I think the number of people who have 10 plus would astound you. It's not single-digit percentage. It's a lot of people.
All right, so not to speak gloom and doom this whole podcast, let's fast forward 5 years. What does success look like for you, your business, and your family?
Yeah, especially for the business, I think the more people we can impact, the better. That's been the whole goal. This program, like I've mentioned, started as one-on-one coaching, and I felt the restriction of that. Even if you're coaching 30 or 40 people, that's 30 or 40 lives you can impact, but it's not a number that changes the world. It's not a number that maybe can make the world a better place. It has its impact, but you try to scale those things. And so in 5 years, in my dream scenario, I think our social media exposure continues to grow. I think the book does well. And I think we start to see a big reach for our program and helping people improve their lives in those things. As far as my family goes, if they're happy and healthy, I'm a happy guy. We'll be here in Wooster. We won't be going anywhere. If they're happy and healthy, we're winning.
No, for sure. So let's say we have someone that's listening is struggling financially, doesn't know where to start. What's the first step you tell them to take today?
You got to hit that 80. You got to do the 80%. You got to do today's the day it stops. Today's the day I make a change. You got to really want to make that change to improve your life. That first step is probably halting all the bad spending. Get yourself on a strict budget to where, hey, we're not eating out, we're cleaning things up. We know that we need to pay off some bad debt and get this under control, or it's just going to consume us. Start with saving up a couple $1,000s. It's always important to have that emergency money. And, we don't want a car repair like your car needing brakes to all of a sudden derail you and have to go back on credit cards when you're paying it off. So, get your budget under control, get your spending under control, get yourself a couple $1,000s in the bank as a nice safety net, and start working through that debt. And know going into this, it's going to be a journey. For people that I coach, if somebody's in a really bad spot and has a lot of credit card debt, upside down car loans, personal loans, all those kind of things, it's not 12 months to fix something like this stuff. It takes a long, long time. And so that behavior piece that we talk about continues to come into play. When you make this decision, it's a big commitment, and you got to stay the course if you're going to get on the other side of this thing.
Yeah, definitely. You just gotta jump all in, right?
Yep.
Now, you gave credit to your family, coworkers for helping make this book possible. Is there anyone else you want to shout out or thank who's been part of your journey?
Yeah, obviously, like you mentioned there, my family's been a huge support. Coworkers encourage me to do this kind of stuff. They get excited for it, and it makes me hungry, right? When you see people around you that are like, hey, this is awesome, it really motivates you to keep working towards it. I've had other people, you yourself, Seth, you helped me with linking up with a publisher and those kind of things with some of your experience writing books. And that's been a big help. I feel the love in this community in general. Everywhere you turn, when you're doing something cool, it feels like there's somebody there to support you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, folks, I actually have a copy of his book here, and I'll have Cody do his first book signing.
Okay.
He's never done this before.
I told Seth beforehand, the book signing idea is a little uncomfortable for me, so.
While he's signing, I'm asking the next question. And finally, for anyone wanting to learn more or grab the book, where can they find it online?
Yeah, so, we're going to be doing a little launch here. We'll put out some social media videos that are going to include the link. It's going to be on Amazon, so you can always go on Amazon and search it at Your Financial Freedom, Cody Austin, and that'll pull it up for you. Like I mentioned, we're going to do a really low introductory price here. I want to get this book out to people. Truthfully, we're pricing it at a point where we're not going to make anything on it here initially. And so want to get it out there, want people to get some help from it. So you can find it on Amazon, Your Financial Freedom, Cody Austin, and we'll have links on our social media as well. We'll be doing some videos about it, explain a little more about what's in the book, what it's going to help you do, and there'll be links in there to link you to the book as well.
Awesome. Well, those are kind of the serious questions for the show. Now we're going to get to the fun questions. So, it's Friday, and we're asking this question here. You're going out on a Friday night. You said you're heading to the Brick Street Kitchen. What's your go-to order there?
This one's new for me, Seth. I actually think I had a different answer for you last time I was on. I'm certain I did, actually. And this is a new place that we just recently tried, my wife and I, and we had a great experience there. As you know, I'm usually looking for some good wings. That's a common occurrence for me. And I had their hot honey wings, and they were excellent. I will be back just for the wings alone. But I wanted to mention they have a item on the menu called Monsterella. I don't know if they've called the Guinness Book of World Records, but I would anticipate that they would be in the running for the largest mozzarella stick ever made. It is, to create a visual, I would say it's probably a foot long and 3 or 4 inches wide and thick. I mean, it is just huge. I would guess north of a pound. I said to my wife when we were eating it, when you get to the middle, it was actually so large that it was too much cheese, which is a statement I've never said in my life.
Oh, yeah. Too much cheese. I'm going to get a shirt that says that.
Yeah. We had a great experience over there. I think it's a newer restaurant.
It's definitely newer. Yeah. I think it used to be something else, but then they switched over.
Really great experience.
Yeah. So when you're not working or coaching, what does a typical Cody day look like?
Yeah, I like being outside, and I'm lucky my boys like being outside too. So it usually revolves around, them having some type of outside playtime or activity or going somewhere to do something outside. You'll notice in a lot of my social media videos, we're talking about financial content and things related to personal finances, but in most of them, I'm walking outside on some trail somewhere. That's where I like to go walk, record my videos, get some fresh air. So you're usually going to find me outside doing something like that. And if you happen to see me carrying a camera with a mic on, don't think anything's too weird. I'm just making content.
Now, you mentioned that you're a big Marvel fan. If you could live as one superhero for a day, who would it be and why?
Yeah, it's Iron Man for me, and that's a pretty easy one. He's smooth. He's easy to like. He's got all the cool toys too.
That's right.
And he's got the suits, the hot rods, everything.
Yeah. Well, if you could fly anywhere in a suit, where would you go to right now?
Oh, right now, I feel like Dubai'd be sweet in a suit.
That's fun.
Cool aerial.
There you go. All right, Cody. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today and talking about your financial freedom. Find Freedom and Thrive. The book will be live here soon that you guys can purchase. Look for the link in the comments so you can get it. If anyone needs any additional contact information, you're welcome to reach out to myself, Seth Scrimo, at 330-221-1547. Thanks. Bye.